When we first started this journey, we thought the challenges would be the practical ones, like where would we stay? How would we make money? And how are we going to make this work? And while those things have certainly presented their own challenges, I've actually found something else to be more surprising. You see, changing our circumstances has actually proven to be easier than changing what we carried with us. Because you can change where you live, you can change how you make money, you can change your schedule. But what happens when you realize that you have to change the beliefs you hold about yourself? It's a little tricky. And that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately, and um, what happens inside of us when we change our lives. And I don't think that's something that we talk nearly enough about. I've had some really personal realizations in this area. You see, I don't want to just change my circumstances. I want to live life on my terms. I want to chase dreams that I put aside, and even the dreams I didn't realize I had. I want to experience things, not just dream about them. And I want to finally figure out who the fuck I really am. Who is Shannon anyway? Because when I really think about it, my whole life, I've always been the person that others expected of me. The daughter, the wife, the mother, the friend, the teacher, even the Christian that I thought others expected me to be. There were all these roles and all these expectations of what life was supposed to look like. So even I had an expectation of what life was supposed to look like when my kids got older. And those dreams and expectations just kind of got blown out of the water. And not necessarily because I chose for them to change, but life changed, circumstances changed, choices were made, and the paths of our lives took a different turn. And for a long time, I thought that maybe I was being unrealistic, that maybe I was naive, or that, life wasn't really supposed to look like that, right? But now I see it a little differently. I've grown and I've changed, and I've made realizations about who I am and what I want, and even things that I thought I wanted that I've had to let go of. But sometimes moving those things from my head into my reality is a little difficult. And honestly, I think sometimes that's the hardest part for me. Because sometimes when you change, the people who love you don't experience it as you becoming more yourself. They experience it as you becoming someone different. And I understand that. Change can be hard for the people who love us too. But becoming more myself doesn't cause me to love anyone less. In fact, I think it would help me to love them more. Because when I'm not constantly trying to fit myself into the person I think I'm supposed to be, then I'm free to be myself. I'm free to understand myself, and I'm free to understand the people I love as well. And perhaps that is the freedom I've been searching for all along. Not just the freedom to change my life, but the freedom to be the person that I'm discovering along the way. If you saw Tuesday Short, you saw me talk about the idea of a fourth freedom, emotional freedom. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that emotional freedom is not just one thing. I see at least four layers to emotional freedom: money, identity, judgment, and self trust. We can't unpack all four of them in one conversation. I'd like to start exploring them today because I think combined, they are what emotional freedom mean, or at least different parts of what freedom means. So let's talk about money for a minute. Many of us grew up hearing the same story: work hard, get the secure job, retire, don't take that many risks. right? And there's nothing wrong with wanting security. But what happens when life doesn't fit neatly inside that formula? Mel and I have realized that we don't just need a new money plan, we need a whole new money identity or relationship with money. And that's a whole other conversation all by itself. The second layer might even be bigger than the first one, identity. Because who are you when you aren't your job? Who are you when your kids no longer need you in the same way? Who are you when you stop trying to be the person that everybody expects you to be? Who am I when I finally give myself permission to choose myself? That's a question for all of us. Times, sometimes changing your life, even in small ways, or when life changes on you, you start to realize that you're not exactly the same person, and that's okay. And then there's judgment. It's one thing to decide that you want something different, but it's a totally other thing to do it when you know people are watching. What are they going to think? Do they think we're crazy? Do they think we failed? Do they think we've lost our minds? And why do we feel like we have to explain our choices to everyone? It's a strange thing to chase freedom while still needing everyone to approve of your choices. And then I think all of those things eventually lead to the fourth one, learning to trust yourself. When you step away from the traditional path, there isn't always a handbook. Sometimes you don't know if you're making the right decision. Sometimes you mess up. Things don't go as planned, and you sit there and wonder, what the hell are we doing? Last year, when we got to Michigan and started work camping for the first time, I was so excited. We had talked about it for years, we had prepared for it for months, and suddenly Mel was unsure and he was not enjoying it, and that was confusing for me. So I asked him about it, and he said that he had left everything that he knew, and it kind of felt like we were homeless, and all of our structure, all of our security, all the places that we normally land were changed because we didn't keep a house to go back to, we didn't still rent, none of those things. And I understood it better because that's what we're used to. But at the same time, it also highlighted for me the fact that just because we change the circumstances doesn't mean that our minds and our emotional freedom is caught up to that, right? Or however you want to word that. So we've been there and we've had those moments where things don't feel quite right. But maybe freedom isn't about always knowing that you're making the right choice. Maybe freedom is learning to trust yourself enough to make a choice, learn from it, and then make a new choice. So when I think about our Freedom Odyssey, it's not just about work camping or the things that we do to make money to become financially free or any of those things. Those are just the backdrops. That's just part of the story. It's not the whole story. Underneath all of that, I think we're learning to create a life that feels like ours. A life where we're allowed to change. We're allowed to dream. We're allowed to make mistakes. And we're allowed to disappoint somebody. We're allowed to become someone different. And maybe more importantly, we're allowed to become more ourselves without that meaning that we love our family and friends any less. And maybe that's something you're figuring out too. Maybe there's something that you've wanted to change. Maybe there's a dream you've put away. Maybe there's a version of you that you've been afraid to become because you don't know how people will react or what someone will think. What would you do differently if you gave yourself permission to live life on your terms? Mel and I are still figuring that out for ourselves. That's what Freedom Odyssey really is. We're not going to pretend to have it all figured out because we don't have it figured out. We haven't figured out how to live a perfect free life. We're still working on achieving those time, location, and financial freedoms, and now emotional freedom. And to be honest, we're basically figuring out what freedom means to us, because I'm beginning to see that it's different for everyone. And hopefully, we're creating a little space for you to start to figure that out for yourself as well. And maybe that's what we're all doing around this campfire. We're just all figuring it out together. See you next time.